Right, everybody, we are back on the OAG for some more Orchard Raceway action. And kicking things off today will be the DT02. At the minute, sat at the top of the leaderboard is this model's cousin, the Holiday Buggy. That one is significantly more hopped up than this one, which is pretty much a standard Sand Viper DT02. The advantage over this over the regular is it's got adjustable arms at the front and the rear. Comes with CVA shocks on it as well, which while the Holiday Buggy version that I have has already got them on, this one it is a hop-up that comes in the kit. But other than that, it is out of the box, standard Sand Viper, albeit in this lovely orange colour. So let's see how this one fares out on the Orchard Raceway. So let's see how the Sand Viper gets on around the Orchard Raceway. Well, that's not a particularly good start, is it? Straight into the barrier. And again, now, I think I was moving and transitioning from driving a car without too much understeer to suddenly being hit with the DT02, which does come with quite a bit of understeer. And you can see I'm struggling to take it around that bottom turn with no cherry tree because it does just want to run wide on me. And hopefully I can tame it a little bit more. 6.87 on that lap, not too bad. But you'll see him have to come right off the throttle on the bottom corner. So now we're down just above 6 seconds, 6:04, which is quite respectable, but nowhere near as quick as the Holiday Buggy. This is only running a standard silver can, so I'm not expecting it to be as quick. But not being able to punch around the corner, the understeer becomes more prevalent in this car when you're running a lower powered motor in it, and you can see that. It's fine on the loose stuff, but certainly when you've got a bit of grip in the tyre, you can't bring it around quick enough. 5.84 on that lap though, which is showing that this car is capable of putting in that faster lap. But if I could throw it around that bottom corner, I think it'd be an awful lot happier. There we have it. I didn't expect miracles from this one. It is faster than the DT03, but it was not as fast as the Holiday Buggy. However, that said, I don't think it did bad performance, given that that Holiday Buggy has got a Tamiya RZ or BZ motor in it, and this is just running a torque tuned. It got really, really close. I say it's running torque tuned, just really check. There might actually even be a silver can in there. That's pretty impressive that managed to get so close to the Holiday Buggy. But the Holiday Buggy does remain sat on top of the two-wheel drive leaderboard for a little bit longer. What I would say about this one is it does seem to understeer an awful lot. And you could see that as I was going round no cherry tree turn at the bottom of the Orchard Raceway before we start another lap. It was understeering, so I couldn't take that corner with enough confidence. Some of that is the front tyres that are on this standard model, just those standard ribbed front tyres. Another part of that is just the setup of this car does tend to be slightly more oversteer than understeer. But hey, not a bad performance from an out-of-the-box DT02. Let's see what we've got up next. Next up for the Orchard Raceway, we have a Orchard Raceway champion from 2023, the Tamiya Thunder Dragon. This car drives really, really well. I do like this particular chassis. It does have a tendency to roll a little bit into the corners. It's got about a bit of traction roll that when it goes in just tips it out a little bit. But we know this one can be fast. We know it can drive consistently. Will it be able to do it out on the Orchard Raceway? Well, specifically around the Thunder Dragon, oil-filled shocks, mono shock at the front, double shocks at the back. It does have some sway bars at the front. I can't remember if there's sway bars on the back. Doesn't look like there is. This one is running a standard silver can. Let's see how we get on the Orchard. 3, 2, So here we go, some Orchard Raceway pedigree out on the track. 2023's winner, the Thunder Dragon. Now this chassis does have a tendency to tip over and traction roll when you go into the corner, and you can see already in that first lap and on the second lap, the car just wants to tip over onto those two wheels. You have to tame this one. You have to come off the throttle as you come in. Third time you see it again, you've got to come off and allow it to go around the corner with a bit more grace. That was a lot quicker, 6.2. That's a lot better. This car is fast. It is capable of putting in some really decent lap times if I can just get it around that bottom corner without it looking like it's going to topple. And you can see each time I'm hitting that corner, the back end comes around quite sharp, and then it's facing the wrong direction every single time. That was a faster lap though, 5.6. That is a fantastic, fantastic turn. And again, repeated on that lap as well. Once you get the hang of this car, you can really start to tune in some really, really fast laps. Another 5.7 there. It is consistently quick once you've understood exactly how to pull the car around the turns. And you can see now I'm lapping lap after lap very, very consistently. What an absolute surprise that was. The Thunder Dragon actually goes faster than the TT02B, 5.6 seconds round the 2025 Orchard Raceway. Very impressive. I said it right at the start. I always think this chassis performs a lot better than it should do given how old it is. This RC it's not the easiest to drive because it does traction roll into the corners if you're not careful. But it is consistent. It is really fun to drive. And as long as you take it with a bit of care, it's probably just as good as some of the more modern time. It's certainly faster than a TT02B, and I wouldn't have said that that was going to be the case this season out on the Orchard, but it is what it is. The Thunder Dragon goes top of the four-wheel drive. The traction roll is a problem. I wonder whether we'll see that on the Terra Scorcher, which we also have to run. The Terra Scorcher is based, as you know, on the same chassis, albeit with a few more bells and whistles. And with that one, I do have the VQS shocks on the front and the back of the Terra Scorcher. So maybe that will outperform it. But for now, this is in the lead in the four-wheel drive category. Now, there is a whole bunch of you out there that will be rooting for this particular model to do well on the Orchard Raceway this year. The Frog, in its luminous pink and green and black livery that I created a couple of years back. This one always seems to go well out on the Orchard. I like the way it drives, quite snappy with the steering setup in the ORV chassis, albeit if I spin it around slightly, you can see what a mess this front upright is. And I have to keep straightening that out every time that I drive it. There's something not quite right there, and I do need to fix that out. But I would say this one does tend to go pretty well around the Orchard, even though it hops around an awful lot at the back. Oil-filled shocks at the back, that inboard shock system at the front, which does its thing. It has sort of some makeshift sway bar suspension setup thing going on at the front here. That this thing is certainly an 80s RC car, but the Orchard Raceway is a very bumpy 80s style track. So let's see how the Frog gets on. So the Frog is an unmistakable sound. I absolutely adore this buggy, but it is slightly delicate, and you certainly can't be slamming it into the piping that hard on its first lap. And you can see already the effect and if that impact. All it takes is that one hit and the steering knuckle can twist on the Frog. That then means the steering all becomes out of line, and that's exactly what happened on that first lap. Yes, it was quick, but now you can see the car is just veering that one way every time, crashing into the barriers. It makes it harder to get around the corners. This car, when it's set up nicely, does turn quite neat. It's a lovely car to drive. But for me, certainly the way that mine is set up, the slightest knock on those front wheels and you lose all sense of steering capability. And it becomes unpredictable. You get another knock and it knocks another one out as well. And the steering alignment always seems to be changing and twisting. oh dear. The Frog, unfortunately, cannot keep up with the DT models. This thing is a thing of its time, isn't it? On its day, it can put in a good lap, but alas, it wasn't to be in 2025. I don't mind it though, because actually I really like driving this buggy. Every time I drive it, I really enjoy it. And then when I watch the footage back after this is finished running, I can't help but smile, because it really is what I remember RC cars to be all about from back in the 80s. And that is just having a good time. And this car does give me a good time. I think you can give me all the flashy RCs with all their bells and whistles, and I would probably still come back to being this is just pure fun. I did forget to mention I have hopped this up this season. It's got a torque motor in there, which I think has given it a bit of extra punch, but I've also think it's made it slightly harder to drive. But I shouldn't really complain, because it drives beautifully, even with a torque tuned in there. It gives you a bit of extra. And do you know what? I'd probably take this out to drive on the Ultra Raceway most days, because it's just good fun. But alas, not going to be winning any prizes in the two-wheel drive category this season. And our final car for today, I mentioned it earlier, is going to be the Terra Scorcher. Now, my Terra Scorcher is slightly different. I did not go for the paint work that you see on most of them. This is a metallic blue. I changed the wheels up to the black ones. You saw the white ones on the Thunder Dragon earlier on. And mine has got these beautiful VQS high caps at the front and at the back, which does make a difference. So the difference is between this and the Thunder Dragon is you've got proper shocks at the front and back, not the mono shock at the front. You've got sway bars at the front and you've got sway bars at the back. Ball bearings throughout. This thing is ready to go. And Tamiya, I think back in the day, they knew they'd taken this to be sort of right at the pinnacle of their four-wheel drives just before or during the same time that they were jumping in to the Egress and the Avanti. And this was probably the best that they could make the Dragon series of four-wheel drive buggies. So, without further ado, let's see how it gets on out on the orchard. Now, I love the look of this buggy. It sits quite low to the ground. Those VQS shocks, hopefully, going to be giving it a little bit more advantage. And you can see, compared to the Thunder Dragon, which we saw earlier in this series, it is taking Cherry Tree Turn a lot smoother, far more planted. There's less want and desire for that car to want to try and traction roll, which does make it a lot easier to drive. 5.54, that is the fastest lap we've seen from a four-wheel drive buggy on the Ultra Raceway this season. This thing is really putting in the laps. What I would say, though, no, I'm not driving it as of yet as consistently as I can drive the Thunder Dragon. I mean, the problem with always on the Ultra Raceway, slightly different day, slightly different conditions, and it does impact how the track drives. It's so changeable, especially with the dirt section this year. If a little bit of moisture on there and it sits and it doesn't break up as easily, so you can go through there faster. But if it's loose like it is today, it makes that a far more challenging section to take. However, the Terra Scorcher is driving really, really well, and it is currently the fastest four-wheel drive car we've had on the Ultra Raceway all season. And just like that, the Terra Scorcher goes top of the four-wheel drive category. 0.06 seconds faster than the Thunder Dragon. So all that extra stuff, the sway bars, the groovy shocks, all it was 0.6 seconds faster around the orchard. Now, this does have a silver can in, same as the Thunder Dragon, so there's no advantages in terms of motor speed. It did have less tendency to sort of traction roll, which you would expect so with the shocks in there. It does drive better. I think I do prefer it, but it's marginal in terms of performance. I feel that if I was doing laps after laps, I would be able to drive this a lot more consistently than the Thunder Dragon. I would probably end up with the Thunder Dragon on the roof at some point even though I didn't manage to do that in the lap of 10 that I did. It was kind of edging towards that way. Really pleased with how this has turned out. So I built this last year. It's the first time I've driven it on the Orchard, and it did its thing. What would I change about it? Probably some new tyres. These tyres came to me slightly worn, actually. I do have a spare set of these particular tyres that I can use at some point in the future. But for now, the Terra Scorcher sits on top of the four-wheel drive category. So what have we got left to go? We've got the Top Force Evo left to run in the four-wheel drive category. And I've got a feeling that that is all I've got left to run from a four-wheel drive perspective. I've got the TD4 as well. But I do have the, from a two-wheel drive point of view, the DT04 left to go and the Madcap. So there's still a chance, an outside chance, that a two-wheel drive will pip the holiday buggy, and all bets really are going to be on the Top Force Evo, and can it beat out this to the four-wheel drive championship in 2025? Let's find out next time on the Orchard Raceway. I've been Craig. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, follow, all those things that you can do for the channel to help me out. I would really appreciate it if you've enjoyed the content, and I will see you all soon on the OAG RC. Bye for now.